Thank you for joining us tonight. This is a Thursday, October the 29th, and the WILO TV broadcast, live and also archived, is at the Skanta Theater in Frankfort. It's for the City Council at large, and we have very shortly Shan Sheridan will be coming up to the lectern. Over on the far left will be City Council District 2 Libertarian Anthony Clarkson. And then the second from the left will be City Council District 2 Democrat Joe Palmer. Then City Council District 3 candidate Republican Lewis Wheeler. Next to him, fourth from the left, will be City Council District 3 Democrat Heath Johnson. Then the next on the new table, the center table, is City Council at-large candidate, Republican James Moyer, and then City Council at-large Republican Eric Woods. The next to the left will be...
All right, it's 6:30. We're going to get things started here tonight, so we appreciate you being with us on this Thursday evening, the first home game of the Pacers. So we'll try to get out so you can see a good portion of the game anyway. Wasn't too good of representation last night, but maybe they'll do better at home. Hey, the City Council Forum is now upon us here. The election just a couple of days away, November 3rd. Don't forget about that. That's coming up next Tuesday. Just some housekeeping. If you have one of these, are you waving at me, Claudia? Are you? Oh, okay. All right. I'm sorry. I didn't know if I was already done something wrong. But if you've got one of these, we'd appreciate if you would turn them down, turn them off, put them on vibrate, whatever the case may be. Also, throughout the evening, boy, these lights are kind of strange. We can't really see anybody out in the crowd, but maybe that's a good thing. I don't know. But we do have folks, just so Rick and Joe can see, we have folks that have questionnaires. These are a couple of our board members, and they will, if you would raise your hand, they will make sure that they give you, oh, that's much better. Thank you very much. They will give you a sheet that you can write your question on, and then we'll get it back up here to the interviewers for them to go ahead and vet that and get that answer or ask for you. Tonight we are going to be we're having representation from City Council at large, City Council District 2, and City Council District 3. And we again appreciate all of you who have willing to say yes to serve our community. We thank you very much regardless of the outcome. We feel that you're winners just because you've said yes. We appreciate your willingness to serve and be a part of the American process of and this freedom that we have. I want to, before we go any further, I think it's always better to open up with prayer. So let's pray. Father, we thank you for this night that you've given us. We ask that you would bless the rest of this evening. We'd ask for wisdom and guidance and direction. We would pray that, Lord, as we seek your advice on who to vote for and who will represent our different council districts, we ask that you would give us that wisdom. We ask for a blessing on all the candidates, and we certainly thank you for our great community. We ask these things in Christ's name. Amen. This evening, we have our two interviewers that have been with us throughout the forums this season, and we greatly appreciate this. Is our fourth and final forum before Tuesday's election. We have been at Clinton Prairie and Clinton Central, and then 2 times here at the library, and we appreciate all of those who have come out and supported those different forums. Tonight, helping us with our questioning is the publisher of the Frankfort Times. You read her editorials each and every day. She's a Rotarian. She's also on our chamber board, very involved in our community, and we certainly appreciate all of her participation and her help with us tonight. She is the chairman of our community development group at the Clinton County Chamber of Commerce and does a great job in our community. Would you please welcome Ms. Sharon Bardoner? Right next to Ms. Bardoner is someone, again, who needs no introduction. He works for WILO, WILO2, Shine 99, known as Casper Media. Ken is the producer and host of Party Line that you hear each and every day on WILO and WILO2. He's also the news director and takes care of ClintonCountyDailyNews.com as well. By the way, tonight's forum is being broadcast on WILO TV and on ClintonCountyDailyNews.com. And we appreciate all the things that Ken does. Mr. Ken Hartman, would you please welcome him? Okay, so here's how we're going to do things. We have 8 candidates up here tonight, so a little bit different than what we've had in the past forums. But we've asked our candidates to open this evening with a 2-minute introduction. They will get 2 minutes to close. A little bit later this evening, they will have 1 minute to answer the questions. Our timekeeper is our associate Jason Wilhite, and we appreciate Jason and all that he does for the Clinton County Chamber. And Jason will be keeping the time, and then we'll be certainly advising, kind of floor directing the forum here tonight as he shares how much time each candidate has left. They do have the opportunity to answer the question quickly and then go back and use the remainder of their time to possibly go back and answer another question or rebut something that may have been said. So that will be their opportunity to do so. Having said that, I think we'll begin. I said that we would at least at the beginning be a gentleman and let our one lady start out tonight, and so we'll do that. We'll start out with Miss Claudia Houchen. Claudia?
Hello. First of all, thank you so much for that, for giving us the opportunity to have this. Thank you, Sharon. Thank you, Shan. I want to thank everyone here because we can see this is super important for our community. To be honest with you, this is one of the biggest things that we need to encourage people to do. I am Claudia Houchen, and I work for the Extension Office in Clinton County. I work as the Minority Health Coalition Coordinator. I have plenty of hats in the community. I have a lot of involvement in the community, and I kind of wrote some down just to make sure that I bring those up and not forgetting anything. I do have an accent, and I want to make sure that I bring that up first. In case you don't understand something, you're always allowed to raise your hand and ask me, what was that? Last year in 2014, I actually received the Rising Star of the Year presented by the Indiana Minority Health Coalition at the state level. That was for my involvement with minority. This year, the Diversity Award for Purdue University. So I'm very involved with the community in not only at the local level, but also at the state level. Just recently, about a month ago, I received an Excellence Award from the Indiana Latino Institute for my dedication to improving the Latino community. Again, I'm very involved in every aspect. I am Prime for Life instructor, thanks to Judge Hunter. We work together with probation officers. I'm also an instructor for cultural competency trainings throughout the state. And I teach leadership programs with high school students. One of the most recent ones that I got myself involved is the Police Academy, which Eric is part of it as well. We've had a blast, and I want to thank them for putting it together because we have really been learning a lot about what the police job is because I'm the biggest advocate for them. And I want to make sure that the community understands what their job is. I serve at many levels, and I'm so happy to be here. I want to thank my family for being here with me. My husband, who, if it's not, I'm done, I guess. Thankfully, I saw you, but thanks for being here, babe.
All right, thank you very much, and we do have 2 minutes. I know it's tough to do, but you can get 150 words in a minute. I know that from working with Casper Media for over the years, 150 words a minute. We're going to come back to James here. I wanted to share with you real quick, Ms. Houchen is the, and if I don't mind, if I could go call you by your first names, I would really appreciate it. If we could be a little more informal, we could do that. Claudia is running at City Council at large as a Democrat. James is running as a Libertarian. So James, if you'll go 2 minutes, and then we'll go on that direction. Thank you.
As he stated, I'm the Libertarian candidate for the at-large position here in Frankfort. Politics really isn't my thing too much. I prefer things like talking about movies or video games or just general things. I talked to a couple of people here earlier about Star Wars and a whole bunch of other stuff that was kind of fun to talk about. But for me, I'm a computer programmer. I run my own consulting firm where I help people within Indiana, and especially outside Indiana, with consultant services regarding information technology stacks. I also volunteer a lot of my time with the Small Business Administration and the Indiana SCORE office, which helps small business people get their start where they need to go. You're most likely to see me in those offices, like especially like, toward the end of the day, most of the time, to go over if you ever wanted to start a business. You can meet with me. You can meet with one of the other mentors to talk about the steps and processes you need to go through to start a business in Indiana. Outside that, I volunteer a lot of my time toward tech groups where I teach young students how to, I guess, be proficient in programming languages, IT stacks, so when they graduate high school or they graduate college, that there's skills and opportunities there, especially in the business world, for what they can actually accomplish with the new information age. Outside that, I've been in and out of Frankfort my whole life. Half my family lives here. Part of my family sells realty here. I've been to Indianapolis. I've been to, 30 seconds, okay. I've been to Houston, Texas. I've been to South Carolina. So I'm well-versed in different demographics. I'm well-versed in traveling the entire United States. So I've seen ideas. I've seen people in all these states in both low-income communities, high-income communities. I've dealt with small businesses, large businesses. And it all comes down to what I think is best for Frankfort is to say we need new approaches. We need a better way to see how we can do things. If we want to be a great city, we need to stop looking internally for what the issues are and look at things in external behaviors.
All right, thank you, James. We'll go to Eric. Eric, we'll just go on down. Eric is the Republican candidate at City at Large.
Thank you, Shan, and thank you, Sharon and Ken, for helping support this event this evening. One of the most important things we can do is get our message out to the public. So I'd like to thank all those in attendance this evening. It's great to see the seats filled. I maybe wish there was a few more. One of the biggest concerns I have in my job on the council is that we don't get enough people come and see what we do and get involved. So thank you for that. I know that helps us in our job. So those of you who do not know me, my name is Eric Woods. I have been a city councilor now for 8 years. First 4 years as District 3 council, and last 4 years in serving at large. Other than the council, I work in my family business with my father, Scholl's IGA. I'm born in Frankfort, spent my whole life here, derived my livelihood from the good grace of the people that I do serve now on the council. So that has truly been the pleasure is serving as a civil servant. I always say I'm not a politician. Maybe sometimes you got to get in and get your hands dirty to do those kind of political things, but it's really the civil service that I enjoy and want to come back for another 4 years and do that. So outside of the council, I am a member of Community Christian Church, serve on the board of deacons and trustees there. I also volunteer with emergency management, coach kids. I'm a new member of the United Way board, just looking for ways to give back to the community that's given so much to me. And I just would really appreciate the opportunity to serve you fine folks another 4 years. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Eric. And Mr. Moyer, Jim Moyer, City Council at Large, a Republican candidate as well. And to remind you, and the City Council at Large, you'll be voting for 2 of the 4. So, Mr. Moyer, or Jim.
I am Jim Moyer, and I am running for the City Council at Large, a position which I currently hold. I was born in Brazil, Indiana, in Clay County, grew up in Clay City, graduated from Clay City High School in 1961. I attended Indiana State University in Terre Haute, graduated with a BS degree in math and science in 1965, completed my master's degree in education in '66, also from Indiana State. I taught mathematics in the Frankfort Public Schools for 37 years, retiring in 2002. During that time, and all 13 years since, I've been the official scorer for the Hot Dog boys basketball teams. I'm also a ticket taker at all the home football games, as you know if you've been coming out to see them. In 1987, I was elected to the Frankfort City Council as councilman at large and have been reelected to 6 more terms. Again this year, I was honored to be selected as President Pro Tem of the Council. Politics plays a big part in my life. I have worked on the polls on Election Day for many years, and I'm a precinct committeeman for Precinct 16. I have served 2 terms as the Clinton County Republican Chairman. I am a 40-year member of the Frankfort First Evangelical Presbyterian Church. I sing in the chancel choir, play in the handbell choir, and am part of the praise team. I've been on the board of deacons, the trustees, and I'm an ordained elder in the church. I play trombone in the Fun Time Band and enjoy an occasional trip to the Indianapolis Symphony. I currently serve as president of the Clinton County Retired Teachers and a life member of the Indiana State Teachers Association. I'm on the board of the St. Vincent Hospital Foundation and serve on its golf committee. Golf is an addiction for me. I belong to several professional and social organizations, including the Frankfort Moose Lodge, Elks, Masonic Lodge, Scottish Rite Shrine, Optimus Club, Friends of the Manor, and Friends of the Library. I believe that Frankfort is a wonderful place to live, and I enjoy serving my community. I was honored as a Clinton County Gem in 2014. Also in 2014, I received the Bill Beard Servant Leadership Award.
All right. Thank you, Jim. That is your candidates for City Council at Large. Let's move now to City Council District 3, and we'll just go on down. So this, we'll begin with you, Heath.
Good evening. My name is Heath Johnson, and I'm seeking the District 3 City Council seat, and it is my honor to be here tonight. So you may be asking yourself, who is this guy? I honorably served 6 years in the United States Air Force as a medevac flight controller. I hold a Bachelor's of Science in Biology and Secondary Education. I also hold a master's degree in Educational Leadership. I worked as a surgery scheduler for Wishart Hospital for a time, a patient care coordinator for a home health care agency. I spent 6 months living abroad and studying in Australia, and for the last 17 years, I've served as a high school biology teacher. I have a long history of helping people, from helping wounded soldiers to get to a treatment facility, to helping kids get a better education and start their adult lives a step ahead. Now I'm ready for a new challenge, the challenge of helping people in Frankfort as a council member. I'm not a lifelong member of any political party. I'm not a politician. I'm an independent thinker, and I'm an outsider. I offer a fresh perspective and a promise to evaluate each idea regardless of who proposes the idea. And if that idea is good for the citizens of the 3rd District and the whole of Frankfort, then I will support it. The people of my district are asking for a change. They're exhausted with the same old rank and file leadership. They think a new perspective will be good. And they've identified some very real concerns, from drugs and crime to residential blight, job opportunities, and the lack of representation. I spent a great deal of my time over the past months knocking on doors, meeting folks in my district, regardless of whose sign was planted in the yard. And as a city council member, I will continue that effort, visiting my constituents, hearing their concerns, pushing for policies that advance the quality of life for all people in Frankfort while being a good steward of their money. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Heath. Heath's challenger is Republican Lewis Wheeler, and this is District 3 again, and you'll be voting for one of these two. Lewis?
Good evening. Thank you for coming. My name is Lewis Wheeler, District 3 candidate as a Republican. Thank you to the library, the chamber, WILO, the Times for putting this on. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for your service, Mr. Johnson. I appreciate it. You know, the story is told about a man who went through life with an oil can in his hand. People thought he was kind of strange, but everywhere he went, he made things better for people. As he walked into a business, he put oil on the squeaky hinges to go a little smoother. As he got on the bus, you know, and the doors would squeak, he put a little oil on the doors and it'd go better. And people noticed when this guy was around, things went smoother. He made life better for those coming behind. I like to be like the man with the oil can in his hand. You know, I've made some campaign promises. The first campaign promise I made was to my wife and family. Looked into the eyes of my beautiful wife of 7 years, and I promised her that I would not bring shame to her. That I would not do anything that would drive a wedge between the relationship that we have and do anything to shame these beautiful girls. Some of you are going to roll your eyes at this, and it's not going to be important, but I like to mention it. I made a campaign promise to God. I bowed my head and talked to my Lord and Savior, and I promised him that I would honor him and that I would live by his standards, that I would consult him for his wisdom and guidance before I made any decision, and that if at any point I did anything that drove a wedge in the relationship that I have with him, or I did anything to damage the peace in my heart, that I would resign and I would quit. And I make a promise to you tonight. I will be honorable. Let's be honest, there are going to be times when I'm going to disagree with every 6 foot 6 inches of my being. I'll disagree. but I'm going to do my best to do so in an honorable fashion. Now, here's my closing statement that I leave you with. It's my desire that tomorrow, 10 years from now, you're able to say, Lewis Wheeler, he was a good man, hard-working, honest man who loved his family, and we're a better community because he lived with us. We called him neighbor. God bless you. Thanks for coming.
All right, thank you, Lewis. We're going to City Council District 2. This Democrat candidate is Mr. Joe Palmer. Joe?
Thank you. I'd like to start out by saying that I am not the best public speaker. And I apologize now when I get tongue-tied. So let me introduce myself. I am Joe Palmer. I am a retired city Frankfort firefighter. I served 30 years with the fire department. I've been on the city council for 24 years. I'm going to make it pretty short, simple, and sweet. My entire adult life I have done to dedicating towards the people and the citizens of this town. And I plan on continuing to do that if I'm reelected. Thank you.
All right, so you gave back all those seconds that everybody else went over. So thank you, Joe. That was very kind of you. Okay, we're going to get started with the questions. Again, 1-minute answers. Please make sure you keep those as brief as possible, and you do have that opportunity to rebut in questions later on. So we're going to get started with Sharon. We're not going to, because we have all the candidates up here, and the reason that we did that, mainly, even though they are at large in 2 different districts, they're still dealing with the city issues. And though every district has maybe some of its own issues, it's still the city of Frankfort. So tonight, these questions and the answers will be dictated by those comments. So we'll start with Sharon. So Sharon, and you can choose. And by the way, there may be a question that may be directed to one of the candidates. The interviewers will let you know that. If not, most of these questions are just basically general for all of you. All right, Sharon?
Okay, a question for each and every one of you, and that is, what do you feel is the single highest priority for the city of Frankfort, and what would you do to approach that priority?
All right, we're going to begin with Joe. Since, Joe, you began, or you ended, we'll start with you and come back this way.
Well, there's several things that's important out there. I mean, we have problems with the paving. We've added a lot of money this year to trying to pave more streets. That's definitely a problem. There's probably the most single thing right now is still the tax dollars that's coming in and trying to control the spending, or at least being able to do the things that we need to do within the city with the monies that we have.
All right, Lewis?
I'm going to go with more of a social answer. I believe, we have incredibly different demographics here in Frankfort. I don't know what all we have serving our cultural and ethnic diversities, but I know that we've got to work together and find a solution to how to make Frankfort better for all the people that live in our county. I'd love to serve on a cultural committee if we have one of those. If we don't, I'd like to form one and work on. I spent 5 years of my life in Honduras and speak Spanish fluently. Grew up going to school in Spanish for a good while, and I have a real love. I tell people I'm an American Indian by blood, but I'm Latino by heart, and I'd love to work in any way that they see, and my ear's going to be open to any problem that you guys see, and we'll work on it. I promise you that.
All right, Heath?
I think we have a couple problems, and it's hard to narrow it down to just one thing. I think residential blight and crime and drugs are huge problems in our community. I think as far as residential blight, we've got to come together as a community and address areas that we know that are that need those areas. Those people need help, and we've got to go door to door, find out what these residents need, instead of imposing fines and treating it as in a punitive nature. We've got to be more compassionate toward our residents who are having trouble fixing up their properties and taking care of their yards and so forth. The second thing would be crime and drugs. And we've got to have after-school programs, job training programs to get people off of the cycle of drugs and repeat offenses of drug offenses. Thank you.
All right. Heath, Jim? I'm sorry, the other Jim. I'm going to call you James. Is that all right, James? So we don't get confused? All right.
I'll be Jim.
You'll be Jim?
Yeah,
All right, thank you.
Jim. I also think that it's too hard to pin down just one particular problem. I think infrastructure, of course, roads, streets, alleys is one of them. And we did put into the budget for 2016 an additional $200,000 for paving so we can get more streets done next year. Second thing is housing. And we have $100,000 in the budget for tearing down houses, and our building department is doing a really good job of getting those things taken care of. And the third thing I'd say is jobs. We need to attract more businesses, and we've done a really good job of that in cooperation with the county in attracting businesses such as Indiana Packers, for example, and the big one out west, ConAgra, that would slip my mind. But those are the problems that I see and what we're doing about them.
All right, thank you. Eric?
I think probably residential growth stagnation would be what I would consider a root problem, because with that, we are not quite getting the additional tax revenue we need to make Frankfort the great place that we all want. And I say that not wanting more than we deserve, but we have a lot of wants and needs here. As Jim said, getting more money for paving is fantastic. I always fear that we're going to take it from some other needed location. So I'd like to see that opportunity to get some more growth in this community. We are doing very well with industrial, commercial, business growth. Now we just need the people to stay here, come back here, however you want to put it, and be a part of the community, give to the community, work in the community. We have a lot of citizens that live here. They work elsewhere. We just need a good comprehensive community involvement, and I believe that will help our situation overall and basically allow us to have the resources we need to do our jobs.
Okay. Claudia?
Okay, so like everyone has said, we have plenty of problems in Frankfort, and it's hard to just pick a couple of them. But I have some in here that I was able to write down, and one of them is roads, the internet that we have in Frankfort, and one of the things that I wrote in here is infrastructure as well, because if we don't keep up with these things, business and individuals will just look around us and not really look at Frankfort, Indiana as a possible place to live, work, and have a family, or even just to make an investment. One of the things that I also noticed within the city and the city council and a lot of the residents, that when I talked to them, was the communication. We have no communication in between what we have. I'm in great disadvantage right now because the people that I'm running against, you guys have all the experience, and I look up for you for, sometime being like you and helping my community. But I'm willing to learn. The collaboration is important in here. And also, one of the biggest priorities that I'm making, it's health, because that's what I do.
All right, thank you. James?
Okay. I would say the biggest issue would be an economic climate. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different businesses have closed within the last year. There's several people up here. There's probably several people in the audience that do own small businesses. The issue is when we add these new jobs, we add these new places for people to work, they tend to be large factories. We have a Walmart and a McDonald's. The only thing open past 9 o'clock is McDonald's or Walmart. Take your pick where you want to go. If we were to make the town better, you have to have more incentives for small businesses. If I don't have any incentive to move here because there's no infrastructure for what I want to do, there's no clientele that I can get for customer bases, and the tax rate's too high for me to open up a small business to compete with a multinational corporation, there's no options for me. So if we have to say that we're going to give you a 0% tax rate for a small business for a 5-year term, That's great, because then I don't have to pay taxes to start up my business. I can devote all my economical funds and all my ability to focus on my business without having to pay county or city taxes that burden me.
All right, thank you. All right, Ken, you're up.
Okay, this question is for everybody. How important is it to you to keep the recent graduates or the younger professionals in Frankfort, and how would you go about doing that?
All right, we're going to go over to Lewis and come back, and then I'm going to just kind of go back and forth here. So we'll be random a little bit so that no one has to feel like they're going last and not know what's going on. So, Lewis.
Obviously, it's incredibly important that our recent graduates come back. I did. I went out of state. I found a pretty lady, married her, and I brought her back and chose to raise a family here. One of the reasons why I think you do that is because of what you have when you were raised in a community. You have those memories, and you say, I want my kids to have that, and I'm going to come back. So the short answer is we have to work on family-friendly solutions. I'm not throwing stones. I think so often it appears that we are when we talk about this kind of stuff. But honestly, we've got to not just have jobs be the highest priority, but if that becomes what we sacrifice the things for our families to do in this community, then we're in a world of hurt. You know, every time that I take my girls to a movie, I leave Frankfort because there's not ability to do it here. When we want to go to a swimming pool all this summer, we didn't do it in Frankfort. When we want to putt-putt golf, we don't do it in Frankfort. And what happens is that people finally say, oh, it would be more convenient just to go ahead and live outside of Frankfort because there's all that stuff for the family to do.
All right, James.
This James, right?
Yeah, you're James. I get Jim and James. So James.
Okay, like small towns have it's a double-edged sword. You can do as many things as you want to kind of increase young professionals to come here, but the thing is you're still in a small town. Compared to Indianapolis, compared to Fort Wayne, compared to Evansville, Bloomington, all these cities that have large college campuses that have a lot of infrastructure, there's more incentive for things to do, not just job opportunity, but social activities as well. If I wanted to keep young professionals here, I would have to spend millions of dollars just to add new businesses for like theme parks or whatever they want to do. But the easiest thing to do would be say, we have to accept the fact that people are going to leave. And when people leave, you have to entice them back with something. And the only thing I can think of to entice them back is to say, well, we can create a new sort of social culture here that says if you stay here, then there's a chance that you could own a home here. It's easier to own a home here. It's easier to get started in life here, easier to open up a business here. If you don't make it easy for them in these other cities, these massive cities, make it easier than a small town to do that, they're always going to choose a larger city.
All right, thank you. Heath?
Well, I think as the mayor said, we got to have a steak and shake. Seriously, we need good housing. When folks graduate from college and they want to move back or they're looking at moving back, they want a nice place to live, good neighborhoods, safe streets, and also they want to make sure that there's some high-paying jobs there to be able to move up the economic ladder and the social ladder.
All right, Claudia.
In my situation, I feel I'm already empowering people to not only feel, it's all about loving your community. If you love your community, and if we treat these students right now, we treat them right, providing the resources they need right now, they probably will come back because this is what they call home. And I already empower youth through a grassroots leadership development program that I have every year at the Extension Office. And so far, I've taken 150 students from the Frankfort High School to this national conference in Chicago, Illinois. It's the biggest conference for to create leaders and to empower them to go to college and then come back. So matter of fact, I'm really proud to say that a lot of them actually already went through, they went to college, they got their master's degree, they got their bachelor's degree, and they're back in the community. And a great example of that is Esmeralda Cruz, who is our health and human science educator right now.
All right, thank you. Joe?
Is there another Joe here?
No other Joe. I know you would wish there would be, but there's not, so.
You know, it's kind of funny, that question, because recently I've talked to several, and when I say that, it's probably been 5 or 6 residents that had left this community and come back recently within the last few years because this was their roots, and they've decided that that grass isn't always greener on the other side, so they've come back home. You know, the schools are now starting to work with the students, trying to cross-train them for some of the industrials that we have. And that's more of a way of keeping the students here and in their own community. I've been in a lot of communities across this country, and this is still one of the finest communities I was ever in. That's all I got to say.
All right. Eric.
Now, this is not really one of those questions you want to be nearly last in line to answer. I can't dispute any of the things that the other candidates have said here. I think in our community, as it stands right now, you got to kind of want to live in a small town, quiet community, because that's kind of what we are. We don't have the movie theaters and things like that, unfortunately. Not to say that we can't get back to a situation like that. We have a lot working for us, a lot of opportunities. For me, I want to support changing our industrial park, adding a wing where we're talking tech park. We get to the higher level, the attractive jobs for the younger college graduates. We got fine jobs in the factories we have, but let's face it, there's some opportunities that we're just absolutely missing. So we can be some influence when it comes to spending redevelopment monies and other tax monies to help grow the community in that direction. And I think that yes, it's important to bring them back. We really have to step up the opportunities on our end.
All right. Jim.
Well, from what I've heard, it seems like everybody says, yes, it's very important to keep your young people here. And, of course, I would have to agree with that. We've done several things to try to get people to stay here. And one of the biggest, I think, was getting an Ivy Tech campus in the community, because now the students don't have to travel all the way to Lafayette or Kokomo or Indianapolis to further their education. And a lot of the kids are not really cut out to be a college student, but they want to go into some other kind of a field, and I think the Ivy Tech is going to be a good addition for that, and that may keep a lot of them here. In addition to that, we do have some amenities for them. We have a golf course, which a lot of younger people like to play golf, and we've even put in foot golf now. So we're trying to do things that will attract the young people and keep them here. And there's even been talk of converting the upstairs of the downtown businesses into loft apartments, which I think is also a good idea, and I guess I'm done.
Okay. Thank you. Sharon, you're up.
Okay, housing has been mentioned by many of you, and the mayor has also put housing as one of his top priorities. So speak to specific solutions you would see in terms of improving the housing stock in Frankfort.
All right. Jim, we'll just start with you since you ended.
Specific solutions? Well, I can't think of any specific solutions. We're working really hard with the building inspector's department now on getting the housing that we have improved and brought up to standards. We've got standards that we need to enforce, and we're trying to enforce them. We're trying to get rid of the buildings that are no longer able to house people. So I think we're doing a lot of the right things right now in the McBarnes administration.
All right, Lewis.
I'm going to basically skip the question. I don't have a real answer. Okay. All right. Well, the answer is no. I don't have any specific plans. I don't know what kind of incentives can be offered for people to beautify their homes and all that stuff. Now, I like to go back to what I said earlier. I have been all over the world, basically, 7 foreign countries. I rode 3 hours on the back of a mule up to the top of a mountain. And I got there was no chamber of commerce, no common council, but there was a thriving community. People are educated, went back, there wasn't even running water. I had the privilege to be out the Navajo Indian Reservation, was at the President's Mansion and the House of Congress out there. And I found in the middle of the desert that people, thriving community. What makes people go back there? the love of family, people that they know, things in the area. We will commute if we have to work, but if we can make this family friendly, people will stay here and they'll come back. Guarantee you.
Claudia.
Okay, on housing. We just need to start making people more accountable for the properties they have. A lot of the properties around Frankfort, and when I had an opportunity to go knock on doors, you know, first thing I look at is the yard, obviously, because I was a little intimidated to get, I'm afraid of big dogs. And it was my bodyguard, Heath was my bodyguard, but it was some of the community, a part of this District 3, which I had an opportunity to look at, and it looks bad. And we need to get those people to be accountable for the properties. We have plenty of ordinances already. We just need to make sure that we are enforcing those. I also feel like we need to start fixing, we need to have a plan, and a systematically plan to clean these properties. Like Jim mentioned, maybe demolish them. Maybe just we create incentives for these individuals. Maybe it's an older person who needs help and we don't know that. That's the kind of communication we have to have with the city council, so to see where we can not only bridge the gap, but close the gap.
Heath.
Recently, or at the mayor's forum, it was asked if Frankfort was a blighted city, and he replied no. But let's be clear that we've just applied for a grant to revitalize a portion of downtown. Eligible for those monies has defined this area as blighted. So how are we going to solve the problem with housing? What creative solutions can I suggest? Well, high school students are looking for community service projects. We could help they could help with cutting the grass or sprucing up the property. Also, we could use building trades students to help do some construction projects on these properties. Some of our faith-based organizations could also be valuable resources to help struggling homeowners. Long-term solutions, in most cases, would be to help solve the problem of poverty in this community. We have a 11.7% poverty rate in Frankfort that's 2% higher than the state average. So we got to try to solve the problems that lead people to neglecting their properties in the first place: education, job training, and finding gainful employment.
All right, thank you. James?
Okay. I'm going to speak specifically because they say like mostly it's the blight issue. Indianapolis, especially the southeastern side of Indianapolis, has an issue called a zombie house. What a zombie house is an unoccupied house or a house that's in derelict. Representative Justin Moyer and Representative Dan Forrestal introduced a measure where there's called a path to ownership. People can pay the city around $1,000 to $5,000 depending on the property to upkeep the property over a certain amount of terms, usually a 24 to 36-month term. At the end of that term, they're able to purchase the house. The largest issue to the housing issue here in Frankfort is a lot of these houses are either bank-owned or they're just in complete derelict. When it's bank-owned, you still have to meet a FICO score. And based on the income of the people that are here in town and based on their credit scores, they do not meet the FICO score to own these houses. If these houses are derelict and they are on city property, then it's easy to create a path to ownership where they can pay a fee, upkeep the property, and after a certain amount of time, they own the property. At that point, they will definitely invest in the house. You're not going to invest in a community or a house that you do not own. So we have to make sure that we get people into these houses. If you do not, then they're always, always, always going to be derelict.
All right, thank you. Joe?
A few years ago, when we really was deep into the recession, there was so many homes around that was in foreclosure, mortgages. That's slowly starting to change itself back again. You know, for a long time, and I believe the county has a thing in place for going in and giving a tax abatement on dilapidated houses and stuff like that. And I've kind of pushed for a few years. You know, if there's a process that we could put into place that if somebody goes in and dumps $20,000 trying to remodel an old house, give them a tax abatement on that $20,000. That's the key on getting some of these older homes fixed up.
All right, Eric.
I was one of the originators of the ordinance that defined the South Frankfort Historic District. It's one of the first things I did when I came on the council in '07. And for me, that was a real learning experience because I've driven past some of the houses that it was obvious the citizens that lived there didn't have the pride in them. And then you've got maybe some landlord situations where they are detached, they don't live in the community. That got me involved, and we passed the ordinance that basically said it's got to change. We've got to get rid of the multifamily dwellings and go back to at least a double. And that is a great opportunity for the community, because what we found is some of the bigger homes were bought and refurbished. People took pride in them, and you can't legislate pride. I think you've got to fashion your environment where people take pride in themselves, and on the council there's very little we can do additionally, because we have so many ordinances. It's more of an enforcement issue, so it's a fiscal issue. You know, we could hire 20 people in the building inspector's office, have them walk these streets and write tickets. That wouldn't necessarily fix the problem, because maybe the tickets don't cost enough. So it's getting pride back in the communities. I think we're heading in that direction. We have some programs, as Joe alluded, the ability to do residential abatements, some redevelopment monies, and they work with us, and we can help.
All right, thank you. We're just a reminder that there are folks that got sheets there that if you want a question or ask a question, Rick or Joe will make sure that you get that. Just slip up your hand and they'll grab, or you can grab the form. Don't grab them. Grab the form and they will get it up here and we'll get that question asked. All right, I believe it's Ken.
Okay, this question comes from the audience. The past few years, the plowing of streets has been very bad. Council's talked about increasing the budget to repair those roads, yet have not purchased the proper equipment to maintain these roads throughout the winter. When is the street department going to obtain the trucks needed to keep up?
Okay, let's begin with incumbent. Then Eric, we'll start with you. Since that kind of directed in that direction, we'll go with what maybe someone else would want to do.
City streets, one of my passions. I advocated, as well as Jim here recently and Joe, to get as much money as we could for paving city streets. I believe the number's somewhere in the neighborhood of 90 miles of city streets, and I think we're paving maybe 3 miles a year with our current budget. Do the math, that's not going to get the job done. We got to step it up. I'm a big advocate for that. We can find that money. We can find efficiencies elsewhere to get that done. Regarding the trucks to plow and salt and all that, it does take a team. It takes the council and the executive body to work together to form this budget. We can't raise anything personally. We have to work with the administration so that we all share the same vision on where the money needs to go. And if the constituents are saying that is the streets, then I advocate going up to $500,000 for that budget in the next year, which would be about a $170,000 increase from where we're at. But we'll have to work really hard to get that done.
All right, Joe?
You know, I'm on the street department commission, or the county council commission with the street department. Been working with Jason Forsythe, and one of the things that we had talked about was laying out, along with the mayor had him, lay out a 5-year plan on equipment. And we've talked at great lengths on that, and hopefully the plan is to try to get them some better equipment down the road, and that's basically over about every year we try to come up with something for them. So.
All right, and we'll hear from our last incumbent, Jim.
Thank you. Both Eric and Joe have said the main things that we need to say, but I just want to point out that, you know, there is only so much money available, and every department has wants and needs, and all of the department heads have been asked to come up with 5-year plans on what they think their department is going to need and how soon they're going to need it. If we look at the mayor's 5-year plan, we can see when some of this equipment is scheduled to be replaced. I know that a lot of the street department equipment is old and needs replaced, but we can only do so much each year. I think that's the best answer is we're doing the best we can with what we've got available.
All right, Lewis?
Well, this is a question that has us newcomers at a disadvantage. This kind of sets us up to say, well, you did it wrong, you're not doing enough, or whatever. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm aware of the fact that we're behind when it comes to paving, keeping up with the roads. As I've knocked on doors it's been one of the things that people have talked about. And the 5-year plan sounds great. I don't know what all that entails, but I can just tell you that if you elect me city councilman, I will definitely be more than happy to work with whatever plan we have and see to it that it works and do our best to try to make it better for the future.
All right, James.
Well, I think it was like a couple, 20, 30, 40, 50,000, whatever they're spending for the street department. I guess the first thing to get the money to do that would be to liquidate any assets we do not need or any employees that are basically just sucking up the budget. Do we have people that we can let go? Do we have PR people that we could let go? Outside liquidating the deprecated assets, it's easy to find people that you can pull money in with the neighboring communities, with the NDOT to say, can we contract this out to some other company that's able to do this? There are several companies throughout multiple states that handle street paving on their own, usually at a much lower cost than what the city can provide through tax base. If we need to get the roads paved, especially in the lower part of town that's really damaged, we shouldn't be using all the tax money to say, okay, let me pave Forest Drive while saying 2nd Street, I'll get to you later. We should be able to have a bit of contract where people can go over the city block by block by block and get it done within a single year, so we don't have to worry about it over a 5-year plan.
All right, Heath?
Okay. Has anybody noticed that State Road 28 has just gotten paved? And it apparently, having Governor Mike Pence come down the street helped get that paved. In all seriousness, maybe we need to look at trying to find grants to help get our streets paved. And if we have to cut other areas of the budget because we're falling behind in paving our streets and buying equipment for that particular job, then we're going to have to make those cuts and make those tough decisions. That's what a city councilman does. And we need to review the whole budget to see if there is wasteful spending. So that would be my answer, coming in as someone who's not an incumbent.
Okay. All right, Sharon, it's your turn.
Okay, well.
Oh, wait a minute. I'm sorry. I left out Claudia. Sorry, Claudia. No. No, you're not going to get off that easy. So.
Okay, well, yeah, like I said, I'm at disadvantage because I'm not doing the job right now, but I'm willing to learn, and I'm listening to you guys to what's been done, and I think we're in the right track, but we really need to understand that even though we're only allowed to do so many miles, and I think Eric mentioned 90, I had in my notes 85, and it's about 3 miles a year. Okay, but we also have to think about the State Road 421. That's not our responsibility. We got to think about the 28 that was just done. That was the state road, so that's not our responsibility. So we need to start taking care of the roads that are our responsibility, because that's one of the biggest things that people complain about. And we, as city council members, need to make sure that we do that, because that's their biggest concern. Drugs is another one, and roads is the other one. So those are the 2 biggest ones. So I don't know where we get the money, but we need to. Like you mentioned, maybe grants, whatever we need to tap into. But if we have to do that, we need to, because it's a priority.
All right, thank you. Now, Sharon.
Okay, so let's say that we're making cuts. I mean, we talked Tuesday night about, the pool doesn't make money, but that's an amenity. We know that the city has investments in the golf course. So let's say that you have to pare $100,000 out of next year's budget. Where's it going to come from?
We'll begin with Heath.
This is an excellent question. I guess it boils down to what the definition of an entitlement is. Because the fiscally conservative folks say that they don't believe in entitlements, but when we're fiscally conservative and we see that the swimming pool and the golf course are losing money, and we're letting some of these infrastructure needs fall off, then are these some areas that we need to look at cutting? I'm not suggesting, to be honest with you, that we cut the golf course, that we cut the swimming pool. I'm just looking at the overall picture here is what you define as an entitlement. So back to specifically how we what we would cut. We're just going to have to go through the budget. I'm not a budget expert with respect to the city council's budget. I will be if I'm elected, and we'll find out what areas are wasteful spending, and we'll divert those funds into more high priority areas such as paving the streets and buying the equipment to do so.
All right, thank you. Claudia?
Okay, last time I was at a city council meeting, because I do want to be informed of everything that's going on, I found out that possibly 48% of the budget in the city goes for health care for the employees. So a huge amount of our money is going to have health insurance for the employees. Maybe that's one thing we need to look into and get better ways of providing our employees, the city employees specifically, the same quality of health care but at a reasonable price, so we can bring that cost down. The percentage needs to be lower. It's almost half of the budget for the year that we're spending on health care.
All right, Jim?
Well, if you attended the budget hearings that we held, you know that the city council worked very hard to cut the budget as much as we could. Excuse me. But it's very difficult to say we're going to take $100,000 out of the swimming pool and we just close it down, because that's like the golf course, also an economic development tool as an amenity to attract people to come and live in our community. We did cut some money out of the fuel budgets because we found out that we weren't going to have to spend as much money on fuel. We have done our due diligence on that, and we have looked over the wishes, the wants, the needs in the budget. But as to just say, well, I'm going to go in there and cut $100,000 out, you can't be that easy.
All right, Joe?
I agree with Jim. We usually rob Peter to pay Paul when we have to get in this situation. There's only so many dollars there, and if it's something that comes up that needs to be done, we work very hard to try to find that money to get the thing fixed. To sit here and tell all of you that we'd reach out there and pull $100,000 out of one cookie jar, and I'll use that as an example, doesn't mean that's going to happen. We may be pulling it from 10 different places just to make that up. But if it's something that really is high priority, we will figure out a way to get it done.
All right, James?
We do have the money to cover all these things. If the incumbents would probably know better, how much money do we give in tax abatements to the factories that could be made up in tax-based revenue? By giving companies that have no way to generate their own revenue, like these are multinational corporations. Every time you give money to NTK, that money goes straight back to Tsubasa, Japan. That does not stay here. You give money to Walmart, that goes straight to Arkansas. If you keep giving abatements to large factories, 5 million, 6 million, 7 million, that's revenue loss that you have to take out. Everybody in this audience that has to pay out of their property taxes, has to pay out of their sales taxes. Are you going to stand and keep floating up gigantic corporations that have the ability to pay their own employees? You give them abatements, and they put up signs in Lebanon. They put up signs in Lafayette. Come to Spartan Staffing. Come to, Lafayette Staffing. We'll put you in there as a warm body for a couple weeks, and we'll let you go. You want the tax base to stop giving abatements to multinational corporations that could buy this entire city with a sneeze.
All right, Lewis?
I think anybody who's ever had to administer a budget can appreciate what a difficult decision it is trying to decide what you have to cut and what happens is I've done it 2 different times. Once as a department head at a Christian university, another time as a pastor. They come to you, you begin to evaluate them, and you say, what's the best choice for this year? What's the best choice to move us ahead? What do we have to sacrifice? Because we have to be honest, sacrifices are important to make things succeed. And so at that point, I don't know what this next year will hold. That's what's funny about these debates. I was in one 4 years ago, and the questions were about privatizing EMS and about the city-county airport and all this stuff. But where are those questions? They're gone. I don't know what the question's going to be next year, and you can't ask what the question's going to be next year. All I can promise you is I'll take your call. I will look for advice, and we will try to figure out what we need, where we have to cut, where we can come up with money. That's the best I can do.
Okay, Eric?
Well, balancing the budget is our job by statute, and we know roughly how much revenue we're getting in, so we know the job we have to do. If we need $100,000, we take it from one place, put it in another. We've done it, well, every year I've been on anyway, and I would say overall we've been successful because we're still here, and I think we have a very progressive city now. But there are issues with that, and that is prioritization. As Claudia mentioned, we're heavy in the 80% range for personal services. You know, it's wages and the benefits that we pay our people. But we got a lot of fine people, and it takes a lot of people to run this city. One of the most difficult things is trying to come up with a good, affordable health program for our people that we can afford to give it on the council, and it doesn't break them, you know, when they go to the hospital and the doctor's office. So always a balancing act. We do a good job of it. So one thing I think we need to pat ourselves on the back. We make this thing work. To speak real quick about abatements, I too have real struggles with that. I serve on one of the committees that deals with the abatements, and I struggle with it every time, but it's one of those necessary evils, what it comes down to, because we fear that we may not get a business, it will go elsewhere. We've actually seen it happen, so it's a judgment call.
All right. Ken, I believe it's back to you.
This question is for all of you. What makes you think that you're qualified to have this position?
All right, Joe, we're going to start with you.
For 24 years, I guess they thought I could, so not trying to be funny. It's a learning process. I don't care whether it was my first year or the last year I was in there. It's always changing, and you have to stay up with it. The state changes formulas. They change way things are happening, and you don't do it for the pay. You do it for the dedication, and you're always learning from that.
All right, James.
What makes me qualified? I'm no more qualified than anybody here. I'm no more qualified than anybody else out here that wants to run. That's the brilliant thing about running for political office. It's totally citizens running for citizens. If it were some sort of skill set that I'm able to do, I have extensive ways of looking at budgets that I can configure budgets. I've worked with like $1 million IT budgets. I've worked with IT budgets only like the 10 grand region. But the thing that will qualify me the most is I like to be an echo chamber of everybody's issues, not just one political party, not just one community. I want to say if you have an issue in the city and you have an issue with how things have to be ran or how you feel like you're being slighted, I want you to echo that, and I will echo it through the city council. I prefer not to be a speaker so much as a chamber where you can go through and set out your ideas of what you think Frankfort should be, what Clinton County should be.
All right, Claudia.
What was the question?
What makes you think that you are qualified to have the position?
Well, for the last 12 years, I worked for the Extension Office, and I've dedicated my life to help the community. I can help you guys to bridge that gap with the Latino community, and not only with the Latino community, with anyone. I remember someone asking me, are you running for the Latinos? Do we have Latinos living in the community? Yes, so then I'm running for them as well. I'm running for anyone who needs a voice, because I'm willing to do that. I work with the mayor in many projects. I work actually with Eric. We are now currently attending the police academy. I get involved in anything and everything because I love learning, and I love helping people. So one of the biggest things and what I've created over the last 12 years is a trusted voice. So if you elect me as a city council, you have a trusted voice that is going to be your voice and is going to be making sure that I listen to you and your concerns before I go on and make a decision.
All right, Lewis.
Well, it sure would have made campaigning a lot easier if I had a real good answer to that. It makes you feel egotistical saying, this is why you should vote for me and put my sign in your front yard. But I will tell you, one of the reasons why I felt like that I was qualified to run is because from the bottom of my heart, I care about this community. I have these two beautiful girls and one that's coming in March that I just feel a sense of duty. I've got to get out there and make it the best I can for them. I've got to participate, and since I know how to answer my phone, and since I, as of even today, go out and actively volunteer and whatever's going on in our community, and I'm not waiting on you to give me some title before I start working, I feel like that those are pretty good qualifications to throw my hat in the ring, and so there we are.
All right, Eric?
I'd say the number one quality for doing this job is just being a good listener and caring. That's what you got to have, and we have methods of making sure we find out what our constituents need. We make sure that our phone numbers and emails and all that are published in the Times Daily, and we thank Sharon for that. The city's website, accessible. We hold our meetings at a time and try to have enough seats for everybody. So the qualification really is just to be there for the people. Now, some business-minded practices probably is good when you're dealing with a $13+ million budget, but simply caring and being accessible, then you can get the job done.
All right, Jim.
I'd have to say, number one is experience. I have been elected to 6 terms. I served 28 years at the end of this term, and I know where the bodies are buried. I would say that number 2, I'm a good listener. Number 3, I think I work well with others. I can get along with almost anybody. But most of all, I love this community. I did not have to come here. I came here to teach school, and I loved the community so much I just stayed. Never went anywhere else. And I've gotten active. I belong to a lot of different organizations. I take part in a lot of things. I go to all the plays and everything here in this community. So I think that helps qualify me for this job.
All right, Heath.
I too have a willingness to help people and a love to help people, and I think I'm a good listener. I've listened to a lot of kids' trials and tribulations over the years, and I think from what I've been told from the students that I'm a pretty good leader and a good role model for them. I too have handled budgets with the science department budget and negotiating contracts within the constraints of the corporation budgets. I also, while obtaining my master's degree, studied finance and educational law. And then I also think that being a reflective person, to be able to say, what did I do right? What did I do wrong? What can I do to change and make things better the next time? I think being reflective is very important.
All right, thank you. Sharon, I believe it's back to you.
Okay, this is an audience-submitted question. It's pretty much a yes or no answer. Are you in favor of restricting city vehicles? So in other words, restricting police officers, for example, to use their vehicles only in Clinton County?
James, start with you.
It's a yes or no question, but I can go in depth about it. Yes, I'm in favor of restricting city vehicles and restricting city property into the county or city unless that there's a specific reason that a Frankfort police car needs to go outside the county. Sometimes there has to be prisoner transport. Sometimes there has to be pickups from especially Marion County Jail or Tippecanoe County Jail as well. So there's extenuating circumstances that allow police to go outside. There's a theory of community policing. If I slot my police cruiser outside an apartment complex that I live in, that it sort of lowers down crime. That's not exactly the case. I mean, even New York, they just run up to police cars and blast them. So it's just, if I were to say I wanted to save money on fuel expenses and let them do that, they can definitely keep it at the station, drive their car home. If they need to transport prisoners or whatever else they need to do, or the fire truck needs to go outside the county, that's great, but there has to be a specific reason to do that. Like if you're just going to Walmart to pick up like Doritos in a case of Mountain Dew, I don't see that as acceptable.
All right, Heath?
I don't think that that's necessarily a yes or a no question, because there are circumstances where we would want the Frankfort Police Department or someone who has a vehicle, if they're needs to travel outside the community, for example, with a prisoner transport, or if they're pursuing somebody who happens to leave the city limits or outside the county, then obviously that police car should be leaving the county. So I don't really think that's a yes or a no question, to be honest with you.
Okay, let me clarify. We're just talking about personal use of the vehicle, not if they have to, go across county lines to apprehend someone, but just their personal use of the vehicle. Should they be able to drive it outside the county for personal use?
In the spirit of being fiscally conservative, I would say no, we would not want them to do that.
All right. Lewis.
The answer is no. I've been to Lafayette, to Myers, and seen the whole family get out of a Frankfort cop car, go in the shop. I was in Lebanon just a couple of weeks ago, and a police car come flying up behind me and whizzed around me. I was doing a speed limit, and they weren't, and a whole family in a police car. Both times I knew the officers and do not care to share the name. But yeah, no, I was disconcerted by just leaving the county in your cop car to go shopping or whatever you're doing. So no, I wouldn't stand for that.
Claudia.
Well, since you make that clarification, I appreciate that because that changed my mind a little bit. We're trying to find ways to get money from different places, right? And if that's not something that is needed, and that's not something, but obviously I would have to talk to the police officers. I would have to talk to the community and look at the budget and do some research, make sure that I understand what the problem is, because I'm not in the city council right now, but I'm willing to find out what the best thing is. Do I like cops going to a different county and their vehicles? Probably not. It's not a good thing. There's wasting the gas. It's on our money, taxpayer money, and I don't agree with that. But if it's needed and if it's something required, we never know what a cop is going to be doing, helping someone, probably. And so if it's for that, I'm all for it. But just for personal use, I have to consider that.
Eric.
Although I do support a take-home car policy with our police officers, because I do believe in the benefits of having the cars in our community, sitting in driveways and maybe even taking a kid to school. I think that's really important. I do support a boundary, call it the Clinton County line. That would be fine with me because it really comes down to necessity. There are probably not too many officers that have a necessity to take a city-owned car out of the county, barring official business.
Joe.
Kind of a tough one. I mean, it's not tough, but yet opinions are tough, I guess. I'm going to pass the buck here, and normally that policy falls under the Board of Works and the mayor. We have no say-so on the day-to-day policies of what he sets up with the police department or whatever. My feelings is, no, I do not agree with it. I'll probably be the first one to say, as far as I'm concerned, it should stay in the city. But that's just me.
All right. Jim?
I would have to agree with Eric. I am much in favor of a take-home policy for the cars because I think there are benefits to having police cars on the streets of our city. As far as going outside of the county, it's probably not necessary at all. I think our police department has a good system set up if you follow the rules, and we have rules and regulations that the police chief and the Board of Works have set up, and I think it's working pretty well.
All right. I think that got everyone in, okay, I believe, right? Okay. Sharon or Ken? I got confused. I wrote the wrong name down. That was my problem. So go ahead, Ken.
This question came from the audience, and this is for the non-incumbent.
Wait, I'm going to interrupt you just real quick because I know I had written something down. In fairness to James, did you want to answer that question again since you didn't have the...
Well, it's just simple. Yeah. I mean, even the people say there's a take-home policy. It's just statistically it doesn't deter crime any less than it just mathematically it's a bad policy. You allow them to take it home, you're also allowing them to take them everywhere else as well. It's kind of like you give an inch, they'll take a mile sort of situation. So if it's that sort of situation, then my answer still remains the same. I don't approve of being left out of city limits unless there's official business.
Okay. I had written down fairness, and I couldn't figure out what. Okay. All right, now, Ken, go ahead.
Okay, this question is for the non-incumbents. This question came from the audience, and they want to know what your opinion is of the current council, and what would you do to change anything, if anything?
All right, Claudia.
You know, I've had plenty of opportunities, and any of us have opportunities to go to the city council meetings and really understand the problems that are happening in Frankfort. You know, they give you the great opportunity to come in and listen and learn. So it's not an easy job, and I commend you both for helping, and Joe as well, for being, you know, servants for all these years. That's a wonderful thing, and that's exactly why I'm going, and I'm trying to be elected as a city council at large, because I want to, when I grow up, I want to be like you, Eric. I want to be like you, Jim. I really do. I mean, I look forward to having, you know, when I look at people, like, they're so committed, they're so well at what they do, so excellent. I want to sometime be like that for my community as well. So I wouldn't change nothing.
All right, Lewis.
When I look at the current council, I see experience, and I hope to learn whatever I can from them. Hope maybe some wisdom will rub off on me. I've been anticipating the question they ask every forum: what do you think your greatest strength and weakness is? And one
That's
of my,
a Wes Casper question, and he's
Yeah.
not going to be asking that. So.
One of my weaknesses would be a lack of experience. However, a strength would be the youth and the fire, I guess, that burns inside my gizzard that wants to really make a difference and help everybody. And so I'm proud of the guys that we've had, and I know some of them are going to retire next term, I guess. And so I'd really like to get in here and learn a little bit from these guys before they decide to do that.
All right, James.
Well, I'm always in favor of like term limits. I'm that type of person that says, you know, even in Congress on a national level, we should definitely have term limits. And it's nothing against his experience or his experience. It's just as, you know, you get 15, 20, 30, 35 different years in there, the entire culture changes from the very first time you ran. Do you need new blood almost every single year? No, definitely not. Do you need some sort of different voice as, you know, a guy that was born in the 60s as opposed to like a person that was born in the 80s? There's two totally different philosophical views on how you should like run your own government. And it's great that a bunch of new people are running. You have a Democrat here, you have a Libertarian here. There's a more balanced candidacy, especially in this race, where you can say, okay, we can have different views than there. Like there's an issue, I think, they hired Gunyon, you know, and Gunyon's been on the council before. It's like, are you just swapping, you know, one council member when he gets let go of the council to put him in another position in government? So I think Joe Palmer voted no on that. He's the only one that did vote no. There's an abstention as well. So for me, it's definitely about swapping out old guard and putting in new guard.
All right, Heath.
Well, I had mentioned that I think there needs to be a change in some of the faces that are on the city council. Obviously, with Councilman Hewitt's you know, not coming back, that's going to give us a chance for that. But one thing that I like, going to the council meetings that I like to see, is how approachable the council members have been. You just come up and shoot the breeze with them afterwards and pick their brains. That's something that I've been able to absorb and enjoy.
All right, Ken. That was a question for. Oh, it's Sharon's turn. Okay. I thought Sharon asked that. I know, we're off now. Also, all because of James. I'm going to blame James for the fairness question, so no.
These are audience submitted, so, and James, we're just going to do this quickly, okay? But you're being picked on here, obviously. So
Everybody loves me.
Yes. First of all, would you advocate to state officials to legalize marijuana?
We have, several states that allow legalization, decriminalization of marijuana. Each one of those states has seen a decrease in crime and an increase in tax revenue. The war on drugs specifically has gone on for about 40 to 45 years, specifically starting with the Nixon administration. The only thing that has accomplished is to put more people into prison for longer sentence terms without any sort of lessening of recidivism rates. When we talk about drugs in the city, I'm assuming people are talking about harder drugs such as meth, heroin, and the prescription pills that occur in the city. The issue with how we deal with that is we tend to just grab them off the street and to lock them up. Do we need more compassionate programs? Probably. Do we need to say, okay, here you are, you're an 18-year-old, I just caught you smoking a joint. Let me throw you in Clinton County lockup and get you on probation and extort $500, $600 in probation fees from you. Should we send them to programs where it teaches them life lessons about it? Should we go through full decriminalization immediately in Frankfort? Probably not. That's not something that's going to be very popular, even though it's popular in Denver, even though it's popular in Washington State. It's popular in several different countries around the world. I feel, specifically as a libertarian, that decriminalization actually helps the community by sitting there allocating money, time, and resources to tackling drug addiction as opposed to filling prisons for private companies' quotas.
Okay, thank you. Now, are you going to ask
Okay,
follow-up?
just for the sake of fairness, does anyone else want to tackle that question?
Lewis?
I'm against it 100%. Honestly, I don't want drug dealers coming into Frankfort and seeing a "We're open for business" sign hanging on the Frankfort city limit sign. You mentioned that you feel like that crime has gone down. If you take a look at when alcohol became legalized, they said, well, crime went down because you didn't have all these old timers at their steels shooting at people. Yeah, well, vehicular manslaughter went up. People dropping out of high school went up. All kinds of things that we don't want happening. We got enough problems without bringing a drug problem here, so I say no.
Okay, Jim?
Just say no to drugs, period. Whether it's marijuana or heroin or whatever. Absolutely no.
All right, Claudia?
Well, as an instructor of a substance abuse class in English and Spanish, which is called the Prime for Life, and it was brought up to Clinton County thanks to Judge Hunter because we saw the problem. I would have to say no. We have plenty of problems in Frankfort right now, and without even being legalized, we see it daily in here. I can just imagine nothing ever comes out good when someone is doing drugs. It doesn't matter what it is. Now, if it's medical, well, maybe. But nothing really has been proven as far as what are the benefits. I looked at the CDC. I've done my research. I actually want to advocate for someone who has cancer, and maybe that's a possible solution, because it could be me next. And I want something to make sure that I can deal with the pain. But right now, because I have kids in the high school, because I have kids in the middle school, I would say no.
All right. Anyone else? Heath, did you want? I'm just looking for any nods or hands, so whatever you want to do.
I would simply advocate for following state law. Whatever the state law is, you follow the state law.
Okay. All right. Okay, so this is going to be our last question as we're wrapping things up. So Sherrod, I'm sorry, it's Ken. I took care of that. Ken? You can see maybe I've been with James too long. I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm just joking with James as far as was out behind this curtain or something. So
All right. In your mind, what should be done about the entrance to Frankfort on the west side corridor, i.e. the roundhouse, the vacant properties, and the junkyards? What should be done? Because that's obviously the most injured part of this community.
Okay, let's begin back with Joe. Come back this way.
Wow, Ken. There is a committee, I think, still involved with the roundhouse. The junkyards have been there for many, many years. Due to new zoning laws and stuff, it's pretty tough to come back in and build a new junkyard somewhere within the corporate areas. And even in the county in most parts, they can't just go out there. The state has several regulations on that. The roundhouse, I'd always said, and I know Shan was involved in that. I always thought it was a great idea, but I did not want to see the city of Frankfort get involved with the tax dollar side of it because I see it being a major, major cost. But again, it would have made a beautiful attraction for the city of Frankfort. So,
All right, we'll come back down here to James. I know I said going down, but we're going back and forth.
Could you repeat the question? It was kind of long.
In your mind, what should be done about the entrance to Frankfurt on the west side, specifically the roundhouse, the vacant properties, and the junkyards?
Well, specifically going on with the vacant properties, I like to see them get bought. Specifically, is there a development that wants to go in there, or are there private citizens that would like to do something else with the land itself? You know, that's why I spoke about earlier with, you know, a contract to buy with the city for these vacant properties that are not bank owned. For an issue with the junkyard, it's like they're grandfathered in, and like Joe said, what are you going to do? Uproot an entire junkyard and slap it somewhere else? That's A, impractical, and B, it's just like there's so many zoning regulations and there's so many regulations from the state where these junkyards can go, especially if there's, you know, spillage that would essentially make it a Superfund website. I mean, the Exide plant was the Superfund website. Junkyards have chemical spills. It's just part of the process. I would say if for the junkyard, I would just let it be and have it there. For the roundhouse, you know, you can definitely make it better. You can definitely say we can add new things to there. For the vacant properties, like I said, we should just have people invest in the properties themselves, have them own the properties. The best thing for the town to generate revenue for the town and to get people working is not the government, it's get private people to own the property.
All right, Lewis.
You know, I remember 4 years ago, we had a company come into the city council and they proposed making a museum, railroad museum, out of the roundhouse. And I think everybody came to the conclusion that it would be too expensive. There's too many hidden costs, too many things to actually do that. It was a wonderful idea. I wish that some historical society or something would see it and say, hey, you know, this is one of the last usable turntables in the United States. It's part of my history. I'll go on record and say that I have family members and friends that came to work on the railroad, and I look at it and there's a nostalgic feeling when I look at it. I'd love to see somebody do something with it. And when it comes to, you know, these junkyards, they've been there all my life. I don't know how long they've been there, but I've kind of just giving you my knee-jerk reaction. I have a little bit of issue with the government coming in and saying, hey, you got to pack up and leave. We are going to, you know, put limits on what you've already been doing for years.
All right, Claudia.
Well, I'm not very knowledgeable on this issue, obviously, because I haven't really had an opportunity to go look at the junkyards you're talking about. I don't know. I never needed a part, I guess, or maybe my husband went and got it. But this is one of the things that I have to find out as soon as I get elected. To be a city council, I have to go in there and make an investigation and see what's going on and what is the needs. I mean, we have so many projects in Frankfort, like the Frankfort Lagoons. We have some other Old Stony and the restoration of Old Stony. We have so many other things that we have going on as well. We just have to be proactive and not reactive, and we have to think about the citizens of Frankfort. You know, is this what they really want? Is this something that we just decided? And you know, I took a course one time, it was called Bridges Out of Poverty, and that indicated that when you are poor, in which my community is fairly poor, you think about today. When you are a middle class, you think about the future because you want your kids to go to college. And when you are rich, you think about the history. So we have to make sure we keep that in mind because we're thinking about something that is in the past, but how can we bring it with the right resources to make sure we keep it alive?
All right, Heath.
Obviously, we're talking about a huge cost here. And I would suggest that maybe we look at other communities across the United States that have faced similar problems with respect to the location of a junkyard. Okay, and also solicit the ideas of stakeholders in the community to try to come together to find a solution for this problem. I don't have a specific answer for that, to be honest with you, but if that's an important issue for people on the west side, then rest assured that's something that I would dedicate my time to help solving.
Eric.
I like the idea of our 4 corridors coming into the city to look better than they do. I know there's a little bit of an effort starting to get some signage, and you've seen it maybe in Carmel, Noblesville. You don't go in through a main corridor without seeing a nice brick rock structure. I don't know if we can afford all that, but it comes down to prioritization when you're talking about the west side. You know, I wasn't on the council then, but I know they had to go around salvage yard because of legalities. And as we move forward with potential annexation efforts later, I just advocate a good, strong, comprehensive plan to make sure we do it right. Let's get everybody in that is appropriate and reasonable, so we're all abiding by the same zoning laws, and we simply have a fairness issue that we can work with. Now, that may come down to just putting up some fence blinders in some areas, but it's that comprehensive zoning view that I do feel is appropriate on our four main entries.
All right, Jim?
You know, sometimes when you're the last one to answer, most of the good stuff's been taken. But I would echo what Joe had to say about the Roundhouse property, because that was an excellent idea to start with, but it took so long to get that away from the railroad that we got to the point where it's no longer really usable. So I don't know what the people who own it now are going to do about that. And I'd agree with Eric with what he was saying about the junkyards. Maybe it'd be possible to have a land swap, have them move somewhere else, and we take that property and do something with it.
Okay, we've come to the end of the questioning, and we're now finishing up with our closing comments. And we're going to start back, since we started with Claudia, we're going to come back and we're going to go back and start with Joe. And Joe, since you were so brief while ago, we're going to let you begin. You won the award tonight.
I think I got about 10 minutes saved
Yeah, you
up.
got about 10 minutes saved up. So,
I'd like to start out, I'd like to say thank you for everybody for coming out and supporting candidates and the forum. I'd also like to thank Sharon with the Times, Kim with WILO, Shan with Chamber of Commerce, and also the Frankfort Library. I'd also like to thank my wife, family for their support, and all the voters that believe in me. I've always been there for my constituents. My phone numbers have always been public record, and I have and will continue to be available for the residents of my area or anywhere across town. Just give me a call.
all right, Lewis?
Well, thank you for the opportunity to come and to share my ideas with you. I've been absolutely amazed at the amount of love and support I've received running this time. I had supper with Senator Brent Hirschman, and over, he kept saying, "You want me to come walk with you? You want me to donate for signs? What can I do?" Someone you idolize that shows interest in you, that's a lot. Got a phone call last night from the Indiana State Teachers Association asking to give me an endorsement, and I said, "Let me think about it. I'll fill out your questionnaire." I'm real careful about that, but it means a lot that they took a look and wanted to endorse me on this race. And just each one, I've been hugged so many times and so many hearty handshakes that I can't help but feel good, feel like that I just won just being there. Then the support of Josh and Stacy Ewitz as they've kind of tried to help hand the baton over to me. I think it's time we have a beard in city office. I mean, a real beard, not the name beard. We've got these half guys that do a mustache or goatee, but a full beard. He used to do it, but he sold out on us. It's time for a real beard. You know, a lot of politicians, they say one thing and do another thing. The story is told about a U.S. senator traveling out west trying to get reelected. They asked him if he wanted to speak on the Indian reservation. And so he said, sure. They drove him out in a Jeep into the middle of the field, and he got up there on the platform and began to speak. He said, "You know, if I'm reelected, I'll get more money for your programs and education." And they all stood up and they said, "Ooga booga, ooga booga." And so he said, "You know, if I'm reelected, I'll set the history book straight. I'll let them know the Indians were here first." They all stood up again. They chanted, "Ooga booga, ooga booga." He felt pretty good, and as he walked out to the car, he said to the fellow that emceed, he said, "What does that mean, ooga booga?" And he pointed down to the ground of the cow pasture there, and he said, "Just watch your step on your way to the car. Don't step in any of these fresh ooga boogas."
We can always count on you for a laugh, Lewis, that's for sure. Heath?
Thank you for coming out tonight and spending time with us to learn more about who we are as candidates. I'm honored to have been given the opportunity to share my story and vision with all of you and to share the stage with each of my fellow community members. Tonight, you've heard each of us talk about why we would make a better representative for your community. And you're going to be asked to evaluate our resumes and cast your vote for whom you feel will best serve the interests of the people. Of course, I feel I have a pretty good resume. Among my education and work experience and time living abroad, I have excellent communication skills, proven leadership skills, analytical and critical thinking skills, and I've managed department budgets and school finance. And I also have a history with team and consensus building. But one of the most valuable assets I think that I possess is to advocate for people and ideals. It's what I do, and I help people realize what their potentials are, work with others to get things accomplished, and to try to find solutions. I thank you for the opportunity again, and I would like to finish by asking that you make one promise to me. Just one promise. If you have not already voted, please vote. If you've already voted, then please promise me that you'll convince someone else to vote. Voter turnout is a huge problem in our community. Maybe you can even offer to drive somebody to the polls. And if they're not registered, help them get registered. Let's change this process so that we can be a model community for others to follow. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much, Heath. Jim.
Thank you to the Chamber of Commerce and to the Frankfort Public Library for providing this forum tonight. Also, thank you to Sharon Bardana and Ken Hartman for being our interrogators. Why am I running for City Council? First, having served several terms on the council, I have experience in government, which I believe will be helpful. I believe that I have represented my constituents, and that's all of you, your wishes, and have tried to do what is best for our community. Secondly, I want to help our Mayor, Chris McBarnes, keep the city moving forward. We need to continue working with the county and the chamber to attract new business such as ConAgra, Indiana Packers, and Wabash National, gaining jobs for our community and increasing our tax base. Third, there are several projects we're currently working on that I'd like to see completed, namely South Mesh Road, Washington Avenue, renovation of our city building, Old Stony, and the South Side School project. What things do I consider as our biggest problems? I'd probably have to say housing and infrastructure. And I think the McBarnes administration is on the right track in both areas. I ask for your vote in the general election for Frankfort City Council at large. Thank you, and God bless you all.
All right, thank you, Jim. Eric?
Well, thanks, everybody. What a great opportunity. I really look forward to having 8 candidates up here. You know, we usually don't have that many. So great opportunity for you to look and see what everybody has to offer and see what they can do to better serve you. So the only thing I'm promising is I'm going to do what I've been doing. I enjoy being a team player. I think we've had great collaboration with all groups, the county, redevelopment commission. We're doing good things. We have good projects on the books. I'm simply going to keep doing that, but I'm also going to keep learning, and I'm going to keep listening. And I just offer up to everyone, we have the methods for you to get a hold of us. You know, don't be afraid to call all 7 councilmen and the mayor, because we all are going to work together to get done what this city needs. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Eric. Claudia.
Thank you for the opportunity to, give our platform and understand a little bit. It's a little bit of time. We could have had another 5 more minutes, but I'm not going to negotiate that
Sorry
here.
about that.
As a society, we are responsible for creating the best community that we can. It's our responsibility. That's the reason why I got involved in this. I got involved in this because of my kiddos right there, because I love them, because I want this community to succeed. I got involved in all of this because we need to, since I'm already working with teenagers at the high school and empowering them to go to college, bringing them back into the community, we need to make sure that we do make a path for them, not only to love their community, but to understand where they need to go. Not everyone is meant to be a 4-year degree, maybe just a 2-year degree for Ivy Tech. Regardless of your socioeconomic status, you need to have the same opportunity. I also am very involved with the community, so if you vote for me, you're voting for a trusted voice. It's a human resource already. It's not all about the financial resources and how much money we got. Let's take advantage of those resources we already have here, and I'm one of them. I'm asking you right now to take advantage of me in a way that I can be utilized to be your connection to the community. Also, all I want tonight, I guess, is an opportunity to do this. You know, it wouldn't be a big deal for my husband and I stand up and just pack and go move to Texas. But this is where I live, and this is the community that I love. Thanks for the opportunity.
All right, thank you, Claudia. James.
I would like to thank everybody for coming out here and listening to this huge plethora of smorgasbord of candidates. It's really rare, especially in small towns, to have this many candidates for running for council. I would just like to end by saying that accountability is the biggest issue that any government official is going to face. And it's not up to the government to say to you what needs to be done for you as citizens. It's up to you to make your own changes for this community. The voter turnout 7%. You really should get out and vote. 7%, that's only like 2,000 of you like voting out of a town of like 14,000, 50,000, 16,000. It varies. People come and go, I get it. But unless you hold anybody accountable for what they do, then what's the point? If people can just sit there and say, well, you know, I'm just going to win anyway, or I'm just going to sit here and who's going to challenge me? I need people, no matter if you're voting for a Republican or a Democrat or a Libertarian or anybody else that wants to run any other party, I need to make sure that you guys go out and vote, to make sure you tell your neighbors to go out and vote, to make sure that if you're not able to vote and you do an absentee ballot, not just stop there, but to go to legislative debates at the State House, go get involved, get civic. Ron Paul said in 2012, the biggest issue in this country is apathy. You shouldn't be apathetic anymore. You're $24 trillion in debt. You need to get up and vote.
All right. Thank you, James. Before we applaud our candidates here tonight and give them their due respect, we appreciate their willingness. I want to thank Heath again for your service to our country. We appreciate that greatly. We appreciate our incumbents that you know, you've been serving our city for many of you for several years, and we appreciate all that you do. We certainly appreciate the Frankfort Public Library and all that they do, an award-winning, national award-winning library. We are so grateful to have them here in our community, and of course the Frankfort Media, Casper Media and Frankfort Times, for all that they do here in our community and getting the word out. We would remind you that voting is November 3rd, this coming Tuesday. I think you can actually vote beginning tomorrow, correct? I believe. Yep. There'll be some poll places open tomorrow from noon to 7.
Vote Saturday at the courthouse?
And Saturday at the courthouse. Check the Frankfort Times or the Clinton County Daily News for all those details, correct?
It's in the Times tomorrow.
Okay, thank you very much. We appreciate that. So make sure you do, and I echo exactly what these folks have said tonight. Please get out and vote, and certainly share those same sentiments with other folks. I think these folks, I really appreciate having 8 candidates. This is fantastic. I do applaud them for their service and willing to come out. Would you please join me in applauding them tonight? It takes a lot to do what you're doing, and we appreciate your honesty and your willingness to do. Thank you very much. Thank you. God bless. Have a great night.
We had an opportunity to listen to Joe Palmer, Lewis Wheeler, Heath Johnson, James Moyer, Eric Woods, Claudia Houchen, and James Nease. Sharon Bardarner and Ken Hartman were the question askers, if you will, the interviewers, and of course Shan Sheridan held down the lectern, representing the Chamber of Commerce. To make this possible for you to watch, we want to thank Encompass Credit Union, community-minded just like you, with 2 locations in Frankfort and 1 in Tipton. And we also want to thank Wampler Services Incorporated. Big or small, we haul it all. Wampler Services Incorporated. Once again, thank you for watching the Clinton County Daily News product of WILO TV. Thank you for watching the forum and the debate from the Frankfort Community Public Library on this October 29th, 2015.